glass and then I removed the vinyl, and this is what it looks like. Can you believe it? I made 4 etched glasses with different designs, and then I had this other glass container, so I etched it too, and it looks just like something you'd buy at Pottery Barn, but for a fraction of the price. What do you think? Are you shocked by the final look? I hope this inspires you to get creative with thrifted glass and glass etching.
Let's apply some cute flower decals to this plain glass pitcher. To do that, I simply printed out some flower and greenery decals on some permanent vinyl. I used a weeder tool to remove the excess vinyl and then placed some transfer tape on top of it. I smoothed the transfer tape down with a scraper tool and then carefully peeled the backing off of the vinyl design. Then, to adhere it to the pitcher, I placed the design with the transfer tape down onto the pitcher and again used the scraper tool to firmly place it. I carefully peeled off the transfer tape and repeated this process over and over again until the glass pitcher was filled with pretty flowers and greenery.
Head over to Goodwill and grab a variety of dishes. Place the taper candle onto the protected surface. Add some glue to the top. Place a candy dish on the top. Start by placing a vase upside down and add a bowl to the top of the vase. And place a votive holder on the top. Let that dry for 24 hours. With one of the socks from Dollar Tree, cut off one end. Add a rubber band to one side of it. For the other piece of sock, cut alongside so that it opens up into one long strip. Then cut one long strip from that sock. Place the hat on top of the votive holder and then add the scarf to the neck. Embellish the front if you'd like with some ribbon and some pine. Add a tea light into the candle holder.
Start by mixing together 1 cup of Epsom salt plus 1 tablespoon of clear or white glitter. Apply a thin layer of Mod Podge onto each glass vase and then sprinkle some of the fake snow on top. Continue this process around each vase. Showcase this adorable display with some battery-operated tea light candles and some string lights.
So we're going to start with a clear cylinder vase from Dollar Tree and some stickers. I'm also using some masking tape here. So I'm going to start by wrapping some masking tape around the top. This is where I want my etching to end. Then I'm going to use 2 different size smiley face stickers to create a pattern all over this vase. When you're putting these on, make sure you're pushing really hard and that they're really stuck to the glass so that nothing can get underneath them. When we apply the etching cream, it is going to etch anything that is not covered by a sticker. Now that all the stickers are on, we're going to use some etching cream. This is a very strong chemical and it works quickly and it will etch anything it touches. So make sure your hands are protected and you're working in a well-ventilated area. I'm just using a small wooden stick. You could use a disposable piece of silverware as well. So I'm going to scoop out some etching cream and just apply a nice even layer over everything that I want etched. Once I get it on, I'm going to use my finger just to go over and make sure it gets in between all of those stickers as well. Now that the entire vase is covered with etching cream, I'm going to let this sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, it has sat for 10 minutes. Now it's time to go rinse off the etching cream. So I've still got my gloves on. I'm over at the sink and I'm just going to run it under some warm water. I'm going to carefully push off the etching cream with my gloved hands, making sure that none of it gets on the unetched clear glass because it will leave a mark. Rinsing it with hot water also helps remove some of those stickers without leaving a residue behind. You can already see where the circles are left behind and you've got this beautiful pattern in the vase. So continuing to rinse under hot water, pull off the stickers and the masking tape and just let the water run in your sink for another minute or 2 to be sure that nothing is left in the drain. You don't want this chemical hurting your pipes at all. So the final step is to rinse it all with soap and water and then dry it off. You can see this beautiful pattern we created with just some inexpensive stickers. No stencils required for this. Now you can use this vase as is. I am going to put a piece of paper in it and some faux flowers just so you can really see that etched pattern really well when I display it. I hope this inspired you to go try glass etching. Head to the dollar store and pick up a vase and some stickers, and then grab a small container of etching cream and go try this for yourself.
Head to your local salvage, vintage, or thrift store and pick up some white glass globes and thoroughly clean the outside. Crack open a bottle of decoupage glue and thickly brush the glue all over the glass globe. Hold the glass globe over a large bowl and sprinkle ground glass glitter over the entire globe. Gently press and pat the glass glitter onto the decoupaged globe and then shake off the excess into the bowl. You will want to spray the globe with a clear spray adhesive. Take a string of twinkle lights and stuff them inside the glass globe.
I started by using E6000 to glue these two curved dishes together, and I let this dry for several hours. I placed some more E6000 on top of those dishes, and I placed my candle holder upside down on the top and let this all dry for 24 hours. The E6000 glued a round candle holder on top of the upside down candle holder, then put the brass insert that came with the candle holder back into it. E6000 glued a star candle holder onto the round candle holder, and I let that dry for 24 hours.
Save your pickle jars, especially the large ones. They can make beautiful seasonal decor. Put it in a bath of warm, soapy water. Make sure you get that pickle odor out of there. Take that label right off. Start by grabbing a roll of contact paper. Cut out a little star shape, and I'm just going to trace it onto the contact paper. And I'm going to cut out about a dozen stars in different sizes. Peel the back off and place them all around your pickle jar. Once all the stars are placed, it's time to paint this. We are going to use a frosted glass spray paint. So once you've got 2 coats on there, grab a tweezer and we're gonna pull off those stars right away. I'm gonna use some rope from the dollar store and a Christmas sprig with some red berries and some green leaves. Once all the embellishments are on, I'm gonna use a battery-powered tea light to drop on the inside.
Run to the dollar store and grab one of these hanging terrariums, some of these little tiny miniatures that are for the winter village, along with also some fake snow. And now you're going to go and fill your terrarium with some sand. And now let's go and place the people along with also some of the miniatures. Then I am going to take some of the fake snow there, and now I'm going to go and mix up some Elmer's glue along with watered down dish soap. To dye this, I'm going to use a little bit of mica powder, go and put some air back into the mixture to create little tiny bubbles, and then use my heat gun on a very low setting to go and dry this slightly so I can keep some of those bubbles in there. And then go back around the edges with a toothpick that has some of the bubbles on it as well. Mini terracotta pots. I'm starting off with a light blue base. Cut off a small portion of a clear ornament. Let's go and paint our snowman along with also a nose and some little buttons. Then I'm going to go and glue it onto the terracotta. Then we can go and take this and we're going to go and glue it in place and make it look like there's some snow at the top. And then I'm going to go and paint a small white door. Now we can wait for this to fully dry. For this one, I'm going to go and start off with a gray base and we can go and stick it right in the center. I'm going to make it look like it's snowy on the bottom, go around the entire bottom base. Now I'm going to go and decorate this.
To get started, you'll need a few simple craft supplies from the craft store. Blank coasters, a clear top coat spray, and water slide decal paper. Then you're going to spray the paper with 3 coats of clear top coat. I'm using my Cricut machine to cut these out. Next, we'll cut out the designs. You can do this by hand, but a Cricut machine will really speed things up, especially for more intricate designs. And now for the fun part, the water slide technique. Submerge the decals in water for 30 to 60 seconds. Try to smooth it out so the edges don't curl up quite so much while it soaks. Now add a little water onto your coaster to make sure the surface is wet, and then gently position the decal on top. Hold the design steady and carefully slide the white backing out from under it. Smooth out any air bubbles with a paper towel and make sure the edges are nice and flat, and now you have a cool design on your coaster. Once your decal is in place, let those coasters dry completely. I recommend laying them upside down and putting some sort of weight on top to help everything adhere. Once they're dry, you can bake ceramic coasters in a 110-degree Fahrenheit oven for 10 to 15 minutes to cure the design. I finish these off by sealing them with a clear top coat and letting everything dry before using. And there you have it, designer-inspired coasters that are as beautiful as they are functional. With just a little creativity and some water slide magic, you can create your own unique coasters. This water slide technique is a lot of fun, and I hope you'll give it a try.
grab a cutting board to make this seasonal decorative piece. I'm using my Cricut to create a stencil. Now that I've cut the stencil out, I need to weed out all the places. And now I want to put this stencil onto the cutting board. The easiest way to do that is with a piece of transfer tape. I am going to show you how to burn wood without using a laser engraver. We are using something called scorch paste. This is a chemical compound that we're going to put on the stencil, and when we heat it up, it burns the wood. Now that I have everything covered, I'm going to let this dry for about 10 minutes. Once it's dry and set, we can see the wood has turned darker. In order to burn the scorch paste onto the wood, you need a heat gun. A craft heat gun does not get hot enough. You want something that's about 1,000 watts or more. I'm going to keep moving this gun back and forth so I don't overburn any one spot. And you'll see right away that it starts to turn black and charred. After it has cooled down, I can take a dry paper towel and just gently brush off any of the extra charring that's on there. There's usually not a lot, but if there is, you can just wipe it off. Now I want to add a little bit of something extra to this, so I'm putting on a piece of painter's tape and I'm going to paint the bottom white. Once that's dry, I am going to add this pretty napkin. I am painting Mod Podge over the white paint and then placing the napkin on top of that and just gently rubbing out any wrinkles. Now I can just tear off the extra pieces of napkin. You can use a craft knife or scissors to cut this off, or you can use a lighter and just light the edges, and it's going to burn all the way around without getting to your cutting board. After this is dry, I am going to add one more coat of Mod Podge to seal in that napkin. And then to seal the cutting board, we're going to use some cutting board oil. With the decoupage on here, this is really a decorative piece. It's not meant to be used for cutting, but adding this cutting board oil is going to give it a really rich, deep finish. So that is a custom wood-burned cutting board. We did it with scorch paste. You can do this at home. Just grab a cutting board and those few simple supplies to make your own.
Before you do any work on your glassware, you want to make sure that you have a nice clean surface. And so rubbing alcohol is a good option. So just wipe the surface down and let it dry fully. And that is going to allow the etching cream to get the best bond. So the first thing that you need to do when you are using the glass etching cream is you'll need some sort of stencil so that when you apply it to your glass, it stays in the shape or the design that you want it to stay in. So I'll be using a stencil that I cut with my vinyl cutter, and I'm actually using a specific stencil type vinyl. So you can see it's a little bit translucent, and that helps with the application process. For this glass piece, I'm going to be applying the stencil in this direction, and so I just need to separate the backing from the vinyl. And that transfer tape will allow all of that to stay connected and in one piece. So then you flip that over and line that up on your glassware. And then just press down firmly. And it's really important here that you maintain the best seal possible around those cut edges. And that way, when we apply the etching cream, there won't be any bleeding or leaking underneath the stencils. Once you've got a good firm seal on that, you can remove the transfer tape, and it should keep all of those tiny pieces in place for you so that you have a good, crisp stencil. Once you have your stencil nice and firmly in place, you'll want to take some painter's tape and put it around the surrounding edges. And this is going to allow you some clearance in case that etching cream goes over the stencil, because it will etch any part of the glass surface that it touches. So now that you have your stencil in place, it's time to apply the etching cream. And so I'm using this Armor Etch glass etching cream. It works really well, but it can be toxic. So make sure that when you use it, you're wearing gloves, as well as working in a well-ventilated area, and cover any surfaces that you're working on. And so I'm just going to go in, and you want to pat it on. If you brush it, you will see those brush strokes when it dries. And so you just want to go in with your paintbrush and pat a really generous layer of the etching cream onto the open areas of your stencil. You want it on there heavily enough that you can't see through the areas of your stencil. Once you're finished, you should have something that looks like this, just a nice thick layer. Make sure that you've extended it over all of the open and cut edges, and then you'll need to let it sit. The manufacturer recommends 1 minute, but in my personal experience, it does need to sit just a little bit longer. So I typically do about a 5-minute time to allow it to sit, and then we'll rinse it off. After the etching cream has sat for anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes, it's time to rinse it off. Run it under a stream of warm water and just allow the cream to gently rinse off. You don't need to use your hands. Eventually it will all come off. It might lift the stencil and the tape a little bit, but that's perfectly fine. Just continue to run it under the warm water until all of the white etching cream has disappeared. Once you have the etching cream all rinsed off, you can go ahead and remove the stencil and the tape, and hopefully you have a nice crisp etched glass design on your glassware. After the initial etching process is complete, you're left with this as your end result on the glassware. It looks fabulous just the way it is, and it's a great way to customize glassware for your home or for gifts, but we're gonna take it one step further, and I'm going to be using this Rub and Buff product to add some color to it and give it a little bit of a pop. A little goes a long way with this stuff, so I'm just gonna be taking a clean paper towel and putting a really small amount on the paper towel and applying it directly to the etched areas of the glass. It will stain your hands, and it does have a little bit of a strong odor, so make sure you wear gloves and you're working in a well-ventilated area. So I'm just gonna take that small amount and put it right on here. You don't have to be neat with this because, like I said, it'll buff right off of those unetched areas. Just make sure that you cover the etched areas really well, and you should see it come through underneath. Once this stuff starts to dry, it's gonna get a more opaque look, and you just wanna take another clean cloth and you'll start to rub all of those areas off. And as you go over the areas that are etched, that color is gonna bond to the etched areas and leave some color behind. You can see here, this is a little bit light and splotchy, so after the first round, you may need to go back and apply another coat of the Rub and Buff to give it a darker hue. Once you're done, fill them up with your favorite contents and display. I used mine to set up a small coffee station in our kitchen, but the options are absolutely endless. These are great for organization and gifting.